Hi, I'm back again, doing the thing and the stuffs. That's right, hunter time. Not my main. It is my brother's main, though. He does love his hunters. I just like their supers, really. Anyways, we're gonna go over the aspects first, as I feel like those are your neutral game playstyles, so they're more important. So first of all, Stylus Executioner. Killing a void debuff target that includes volatile, weaken, or suppress will grant you invisibility for 8 seconds and true sight for 4 seconds. True sight is a class specific keyword, I believe. I don't think any other class can get it. Basically, you can just see enemies through walls. It's not really good in PvE, in my opinion. It's great in PvP, but it doesn't really do anything for you in PvE. While you're invisible, your melee attacks deal 150% increased damage and weaken targets. I did not know that your melee attack deal more damage. That's crazy. Um, yeah, I didn't even know that. Alright, weakened, and it'll weaken enemies for 5 seconds. You also have your melee lunge distance increased, although you're invisible, so it doesn't matter. And then the next update in a couple days, like 5 days. Maybe less than that, but about 5 days, we'll be able to use Glaives to proc Stylus Executioner's weaken effect at least. Don't know if it'll give it melee damage, but you'll at least get that weaken effect. Also, because this thing would be broken if you could just do it chained together no matter what, you get a negative debuff called Too Stylish every time that you proc it, and for about 2 seconds, you cannot go back invisible. Which, I mean, you're invisible for like 8 seconds at base, right? Yeah, like 8 seconds at base. So I wouldn't worry about it, dude. You just chill for a couple seconds and then try and proc it again. Which you can just straight up proc by just using your melee, which I knew, but I didn't know that it also gave you increased melee damage. So a trench barrel shotgun would be great for this, by the way. Moving on to Trapper's Ambush. It does two things. I only recorded one of the things that it does, but it does two things. One, which is the thing that you're seeing here in the recording, it changes your melee to a well, it augments your melee so that when you throw it, it will immediately make you and your teammates invisible for what, 6 seconds? Yeah, 6 seconds. Yeah, that's it basically. Now it does what the melee normally does, which we'll get into later. But it also allows you to use a air move where you slam down onto the ground using your melee. It will make you and your teammates invisible for longer than the previous stated amount of time. So yeah, I mean that's it. It's just another way to go invisible. To be honest, this whole thing, I think this is bad. I think that this shouldn't have been in the aspect. I believe this should have been just a different melee in general. That just let you do at least the first thing, and then just made the air move a what do you call it? It made the air move replace your dodge. That's what I would have did, and then just giving you something completely different. But I mean, what do you give them? I don't know, but yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this one. Although at first I didn't like Stylus Executioner at all, probably just because it sounded really complicated, and I would run this all the time because it just made sense, especially when paired with the exotic Omni Oculus. But before, I go off on a big tangent, let's move on to Vanishing Step. This one is the most simple of all of them. If you use your dodge, first of all, it changes your dodge to a different animation, which is a bit faster, and you immediately go invisible. It does not change any of the things that your dodge does, which means you can change the animation of your dodge but still get the reload dodge, or if you wanted the gambler's dodge, you can use that one as well. It's up to you. Um, And that's it. Now this one makes the most sense to me over the other one that requires you to use your melee. Neat, simple, but again, if it's me, definitely would have changed that previous one. Trapper's Ambush, I don't know, I don't fuck with Trapper's Ambush. Me and my homies hate Trapper's Ambush. Alright, then we're moving on to the melee, your Snare Bomb. Now this thing does damage. I'm going to give you the PvE plot points. It deals damage upon impact. It does damage over time if the enemy is inside of the smoke. Not a lot of damage. Will kill like these low level enemies, but that's about it. Not a ton of damage. And it also weakens and quote unquote disorients the opponent. Is basically just blind, but weakens the opponent. So it is really good. For PvP references, it does slow the opponent. It makes them reload slower. It makes them handle slower. It weakens them. The melee also pings the radar, so it's really good in PvP for pinging radar to throw that enemy off. This is like a one ability that does a ton of different things and is useful everywhere. And this is the sort of ability I wish was pushed out to the game more. Where it's like one ability, but it does 13 things, and all those things are good, but none of it's like obviously broken. I think this is an example of a really, really good ability in Destiny, actually. Just based off the massive amount of things that it does. Alright, so now we're going to move on to Super, and we're going to start with the Trash Super. And yes, I said it is hot garbage. Spectral Blades. So, you bring out some blades, if you remember D1, kind of like Blade Dancer, almost exactly like Blade Dancer actually. And then you can cut your opponent up, and you have with your light attack, and you can use a heavy attack to both weaken and oh, I didn't know it weakens. I should tell you how much I don't like this thing. It seems garbage. It weakens as well as does a bunch of damage, as well as makes you invisible. You also get unlimited usage of your Trapper's Ambush, which is one of the things we talked about before. I think you have to have it unlocked for it to work. I don't really see it as being super useful because your heavy attack can just kind of do what it does, which, I don't know, again, should tell you something. It doesn't do a lot of damage, and one of the main reasons it doesn't is because it has horrible tracking. It is really hard to hit things, as you can see here. Because I hate just saying something's bad and not like trying to say that, like, how could you fix it or what would I do to it. If it was me, the very first thing I would do was whatever tracking we have on Strand Titan, yeah, give it to this shit. Give that tracking to this shit. So that's the first thing I would do, because I think it's better. The range, everything, like make it the exact same as far as that's concerned, right? And second, damn it, I've thought about this before and I don't have all my thoughts together. What I would do, I guess this might be new from my previous thoughts, so just hang on tight here. Let me make sure I say this properly. Okay, so I think this is what I think, right? My light attacks would not make me go invisible. As a matter of fact, I would swap the invisibility to the light attacks, so that every time I light attack, I go invisible. My right click, or I think it'd be heavy attack, would weaken, but it would apply to 30% weaken, so you don't have to increase its base damage anywhere near as much to make this still be a good support thing. Stylus Executioner already kind of does the other thing, and if you proc Stylus Executioner, then that melee damage increase that you get, you would get that here. So for example, right, if I have Stylus Executioner and I run up on something and I right click it, I'm gonna do the little backflip thing, and then I'm gonna weaken it, which should kill most like trash ads, right? That's gonna proc Stylus Executioner but instead of giving you, well, and then while in Stylus Executioner's invisibility, which is somehow a different invisibility, actually, I'm sure it's coded differently, it'll give you a damage increase on top of the 150% damage increase, on top of the fact that every time I left click I will stay invisible. That way I can keep hitting the enemy in the back to keep myself safe, and it won't really know that I'm there unless I have to weaken it, in which case I would have to use an ability or more melee, an ability or more super energy, because I would have to use Trapper's Ambush, or I would have to right click to do it again. So, and then I guess the argument would be, well, this would just be broken in PvP. Fam, nobody's using this shit in PvP. And if my left clicks just kept me invisible, you're kind of screwed in PvP anyway, because the dude's just running through left clicking, staying invisible. Like, if you're close, you're dead anyway. So, yeah, I don't feel that bad. So, again, to make this succinct, because I don't want an 800-minute long video, I would move I would move invisibility to the left click, right? Every time I left click and hit anything, I would go invisible. Not kill, hit. This will make it better in like in game as well. She'll be invisible. And I would make it where you can proc the 150% damage increase from Stylus Executioner while in the super, which would you know, obviously increase the fuck out of the damage, which would make this just a better ability overall, right? If you didn't want to make it that complicated, you could just throw the damage increase on one of the aspects for free. Probably just give it a Trapper's Ambush, because it already kind of has functionality with it, and that way you at least have a 100% damage increase. And that would also increase the weaken from 15 to 30%, just like Tether. So we're gonna move on. I spent a lot of time on that, but that's because this is really fucking bad. I really hate this ability. It's hot garbage, and they haven't done anything to it since fucking Forsaken or something. I don't even know, dude. So this guy. The first of the tethers that we're gonna talk about today, Mobius Quiver. So firstly, what tethers are like you shoot arrows, and they go after the target like big void arrows. They call them void anchors, apparently. They weaken, suppress, and make the target volatile. These are all good things, right? The weaken is actually 30% on both of these next two things, which is why I would increase the other one, because it's also a super, but I digress. Also, Shadow Shot deals 20% increased damage against targets that are already tethered. I believe this is stacked on top of the 30% damage increase that they get, which means you get a 50% damage increase on your second volley, because you shoot one volley of 3 arrows, and then the next shot is another volley of 3 arrows. You also have an exotic that gives you an additional volley, which means that you would be doing even more damage, which is just bananas. I just looked at those damage numbers. There's no fucking way that it's counting both of them, but I mean, 20% more damage is still pretty good. Either way, I like this one. This is like a burst damage super that also applies a weaken for a short period of time to help your teammates. Is really good by itself. Like, I think people should consider using it more, but they don't, because the exotic that gives this thing an additional volley also works on the other super, and that is a better combination in my opinion. So, speaking of which, Deadfall Tether. Okay, so all the other things still apply. You shoot arrows, right? Well, you shoot a singular arrow. This singular arrow will suck enemies in like a vortex grenade, and then it will tether to enemies. Void Ankle will tether down to enemies, and every enemy that is tethered together will take increased damage. Every time you tether an enemy up to a certain amount, you will drop an orb of power. It lasts longer, so it can kind of sit there and help you deal 30% more damage to the boss. This is a really good super. It also applies weaken, suppress, and oh no explosive though. Weaken, just weaken and suppress to the target. Yeah, I love this thing. This is great. It is one of the best support tools in the game. not named pre-final shape well. Yeah, I don't know, it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's really good. I do think that the Mobius Quiver is actually not that far behind. If you're in a burst damage situation, like if you're not dealing damage for a long time, I think people should be using Mobius Quiver more, actually, because it increases everybody's damage for a shorter period of time, but it also does damage itself. So yeah, you're spending a little bit more time shooting those extra volleys, but I mean, that's it, dude. Oh, I also did not know that the kills increases this time, literally. I just thought that it was like a placebo effect, to be honest, but it looks like it lasts 12 seconds up to 25 seconds, which is super important to note here. If you kill more targets, it will last longer, which means you want to hit a bunch of targets. And you just can't talk about Deadfall without talking about Orpheus Rig, which per target tethered, you will increase your super energy again, which you're just seeing there at the end, up to 50%, and then you just get your own energy after that. So, yeah, this is the Hunter kit. I like it. I do feel like it has a lot going into invisibility, but I think that's just kind of what Hunters are. Although I really wish that they would give a one aspect, so maybe even like eventually come out with a new aspect that just doesn't deal with invisibility. I think that would be awesome. And I think they should do that for each one of the Void kits, because all of them have this problem of singularly focusing on one thing other than Warlock, and Warlock is spread out pretty good, so I don't even know what else it would give Warlock, to be honest. Maybe something that works with Weaken? I don't know. I'm trying to give Bungie ideas as if they actually watch my videos, but regardless, I hope you had a good time with this one. I try not to make it too long. Later.